Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about software managers. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, how would you define your ideal software engineering manager? Well, that sort of depends. I would say it depends on if the manager would be ideal for me at a personal level, or if the manager would be ideal at a company level, I suspect. If we're talking at a company level, I already know him. He is the best of the best of the best. And I know that because I used to work with him. And for me, the title, well, technically his name was uh, community manager or something like that. But I mean, he might as well have been engineering manager. And I have never met someone who was as good at his job ever. For me, I mean, when they described the role that he was supposed to hold, I thought it was a joke at the beginning, honestly, because I'm old and bitter and cynical. And because they described it as something like, oh, we're going to hire this engineering manager type of person who is going to, you can play bingo. Oh, he's going to remove roadblocks. He's going to be there for you, and he's going to, make you the best version of yourself, like grow you as a person, like all this sort of complete bullshit that is something that managers always say, which they don't actually know the first. They have no idea. It's just like bingo. It's like how JavaScript frameworks are all lightweight and blazingly fast. And it's the same sort of deal here, right? So I thought that I really did think that it was going to be the case, and I'm not going to go as far as to say that my bingo wasn't correct. But what I will say is that when he started working, he was let's just call it a presence. He had a personal charisma and an energy level that raised the overall enthusiasm for software development in the entire company. And that, my friend, is I've actually made a video about that. That is a superpower. I've never seen it happen before. I've never met another human being who could do it. And trust me when I say this, I've met quite a lot of engineering managers now. Even my personal mentor, who I think of as basically a brother, he's gifted in many ways, but not like this. This was something completely different. It was like meeting some type of, I don't know, celebrity type of person who had like cult leader to a point. I'm not going to say cult leader, but he imagine an individual who can take an average software developer who is, for the most part, just there to do a job. They're not like super passionate. They're not going to learn, new things in their spare time, etc., and make them into someone who actually does that. That was this guy. That would be the ideal engineering manager, because the main problem that most software companies have, and that's why they want rockstar developers usually, is complacent programmers. Because nothing costs more than a complacent programmer, because your solutions are going to be usually subpar, and you'd have a loss of investment over time, because you can't trust that, because IT and tooling and like trends and like all this stuff, these things keep on evolving, and if your software developers are not keeping up with that, your IT company actually suffers a loss usually, and that's not a good thing. But at the same time, of course you can't, it's not like you have to pick up with every trend, but people have to start to realize this, guys. I think at the very least, software programming it's closer to a sport or a war or something like that than anything else. It's not something like construction where the only time you update your process is if you have to. That's not how it works. In software engineering, you always have to be on the hunt for the next thing that is going to give you a leg up. Or it's like business or anything. Like, it's something where if the people doing the actual work are not passionate, driven, etc., you will suffer for it. I promise that you will suffer for it. And having such a person who can take an average, like an entire company of average software developers, and make most of them into the sort of people who actually show up for learning lunches or like these sorts of initiatives and actually want to experiment and like be better and like etc. And that they get them engaged, if that makes sense. That is the perfect engineering manager. And unfortunately, I still haven't been able to recruit him to my other companies that I've been working for, because I mean, yeah, I cannot imagine someone who would be better. Anywho, but if we're talking from me personally, my perfect engineering manager. First requirement, very simple. You have been a full-time, fully trained, quality software developer for many years. Ideally at least 10, 15. And that is very important to me because I don't find anything useful. I've never met the average engineering manager does not have this. Like, they have some coding skills, and in many cases they try to sort of indicate that they have coding experience, and I kind of go, nope, because I heard you talk. You used words that haven't been. If you use the term webmaster, you have not coded in a long time. I don't care what you believe that you know. I know that you probably don't know as much as you think that you know. And especially when you can't hold a conversation with me about even the most basic concepts within modern software development. But I'm sure that in your mind you're still a software developer. But that's not, to me, a professional, like a real serious software developer. And for me, an engineering manager should have been someone who has a master level understanding of software development and has decided that, hey, you know what, I'm actually more of a people person, or I want to do like a management type of thing more than the coding, so I'm going to switch. That, to me, would be the first strong prerequisite. Second thing is, I would, for me to have a perfect engineering manager, is that I need to be able to trust this person. This has to be a mature individual who understands that things that happen in the workplace or etc. So these are complicated matters, and if I don't trust this person, I will never open up or be honest with this person, because I can't afford it. I like to say to companies who tell their employees, oh, you have to be able to, you should come to us with issues and this and that, and I kind of go, why do you? Well, no, you're the manager. Your job is to make sure that we want to. Because an employee is always taking a risk whenever you open your mouth. If I say something, if I complain about something, if I'm lucky, you're going to listen. If I'm unlucky, you're going to fire me. Why would I take that risk when the only outcome of it is usually that you make less money as the owner of the company, or so forth and so forth? It's always the problem in a lot of companies, to build that trust. Because an employee is, as I said, almost always in a risk position. Even if the manager is the nicest person in the world, that does not matter, because this person has a position of power, which means that if you say something wrong at any given moment, they have the power to make your life pretty damn uncomfortable if they want to. And that is something that some people just never ever seem to understand, and some people think and it's even worse. I've seen managers who are so stupid that they become offended when people don't feel like that they just trust them. Like, they try to be like this buddy type of person with everybody, and then people are like super professional and try to just keep, a low profile, because that's how usually it works. And then they become upset with people for doing that, and that becomes a problem instead. And now again, it's like a problem because they have a position of power, and if you have the wrong person, they misuse that power, or they act in an unwise way, if that makes sense. So that's going to be number 2. Third and lastly would be, this person needs to understand what I need in my career and how to get there, so that they can put me in positions where I get to hone the skills that are relevant for me. In other words, an engineering manager should be the sort of person who understands that, all right, take Frederick, take myself now. Frederick wants to be the as an example, Frederick wants to be the universal programmer, and I've taken my time and I've really understood that, he doesn't really care if I pat him on the shoulder and says that, you did a good job here, dude. That's not how you reach this guy. what you do is that either you increase his pay or you give him a more significant role. You move him to a high stakes project where everybody's shitting their pants. If this doesn't get delivered, it's really bad, because he feels more appreciated when he's put in a position where he feels that the work that he's doing is significant. That's, to me, the sort of person like that would be a perfect engineering manager, because then he understands that Frederick has these goals that he wants to achieve with his career, and my job now is to make sure that he gets to face off against those challenges. Maybe he wants to learn about machine learning, for example. Well, we can. I mean, he's not a professional in that, but we do have some people who are really, really good at that stuff, and we could use someone who is like a little bit, junior-ish in the profile. Let's put him with them so he can work with them for a while and like feel it out and see how he likes it. That, to me, would be like a perfect engineering manager. So what I want you to take away from this is that, to me, depending on how you label it or how you think about it, a perfect engineering manager is, for a company, the sort of person who can raise the entire quality of the company's software developers by himself or herself. And that is, I've only seen one person be able to do it. It requires enormous emotional intelligence, personal charisma, energy, everything like that. And the reason why I believe that is so important is because the main problem for practically every software company is that you have unmotivated workers or apathetic workers who are sort of just in it for doing a job. And that is usually not good enough if you want to reach the highest levels of software development. You have to have people who really want to be there and like really do a good job. And having an engineering manager that can make that happen it's priceless. For me personally, I wouldn't require it's really down to three things. Number one, you are a software developer that I can respect. I understand that you have done serious work. I can hear it. We have a natural conversation going because I can hear in your voice that you've done this, you know your shit, and there's no like loss of information when we talk. Number two is that, well, I have to be able to trust you. I have to feel like you're the sort of person who, if something comes up at work, you're going to ask the right questions before you're assuming things. I have to trust that if I tell you something, I know that you're going to be able to handle it, and I'm not going to get a tap on my shoulder like a few weeks later saying that, oh, well, you said that thing back then, and that doesn't really sit well with me anymore, etc., etc. That's number two. Number three is you have to understand what my goals are professionally and help me achieve those goals. That is number one. That is one of the big things. If you can't, like, everything else is secondary to me. At least in my world, like, I mean, there are a million things that could be like the perfect engineering manager, but for me, these would be the main three at the very least. Trust. Skill, trust, and mentorship. Basically, provide a growing environment for me and so forth, and we're going to be golden. Have a great day.